Hi everyone, I'm Eric Tai from Outreach for Taiwan, and welcome to Talk for Taiwan. Today we have Jess Lee here to talk about her recent launch of her video for Island X Alishan on TaiwaneseAmerican.org. Hey Jess, thank you for coming here. So, the video got launched on TaiwaneseAmerican.org through Ho Chi. How did this whole thing start?
I had the opportunity to go to Taiwan for 2 months, and I really wanted to have something to show for my trip there. So I was doing some research on different subcultures within Taiwan. I wanted to highlight something that isn't usually brought to people's attention. And I found this really amazing space where a lot of kids would gather to do a lot of dance practice. And it's actually really cool because they formulate on their own, and there's no leader. It's not like classes. It's just friendly rivalry. But yeah, so we thought that was really, really interesting and wanted to share that with people. We eventually decided that we should work with Island X, and that they're this small project where they created a EP of just all these traditional Taiwanese songs, but they made it super modern and really easy to digest for people in our generation. So we reached out to the girls. They're 2 twin sisters who live in New York. So that's how the music video got created.
Before this project, were you involved with a lot of Taiwanese stuff? There's a lot of political rants. So how was it, growing up with this Taiwanese heritage?
It was really interesting growing up as a Taiwanese American because I grew up in a community where it was, I was surrounded with all Caucasian people, and there were just a select few Asian people, so we got really lumped together with the Japanese kids, the Korean kids, and the Chinese kids. And actually for a very long time, I didn't really, as a child, not really understand the difference. And it was actually really helpful to go on this most recent trip because I had the opportunity to go to China and to go to Korea, and it was actually then when I really realized just how different we are culturally. We're different people, and I think I really needed people to see that Taiwan is not China, and we have our own culture.
So before the trip, it was a lot of it was heritage, parents saying oh, you are Taiwanese. Would you say the realization came during the trip, or maybe even after, looking back, kind of the trip to Taiwan kind of stuff?
I think before the trip I had a lot of ideas on how I viewed my identity as a Taiwanese American, but the trip definitely solidified those views and made me realize how different our cultures are. Not even just between Taiwanese and Chinese culture, but also between Taiwanese and Taiwanese American culture.
So what would you say you observed that was a big point, in the difference between the Taiwanese culture and Taiwanese American culture?
As a Taiwanese American, growing up in, I guess even just the education system in America, we're really told to sort of believe in ourselves and follow our passions. And we live in a very lucrative country, and we're very privileged. And Taiwanese kids, it was very sad to see that I feel a lot of them just sort of don't value themselves. They have a hard time looking into the future and seeing a lot of positivity. It's just hard to really be unified and have a strong voice.
Before we talked a little about, you said you had a little story about how when you were leaving, you were saying oh, I'm going to miss this place,
Yeah. So it's funny. I have a lot of family members in Taiwan, and when I was leaving, I was expressing to them I'm really gonna miss it. I can't believe I have to go back to the States. I really liked being in Taiwan, and they're just why? Why would you want to stay here? What aren't things just better there? I wish that they would take a little bit more pride in themselves. Maybe pride is something that we were taught in America. Proud to be an American. I am proud to be an American, but I'm also proud to be a Taiwanese American, and I want Taiwanese people to be proud of being Taiwanese.
You spoke before about not just showing the politics, you want to show the people. What other aspects would you say in mind of this 2-month trip? In mind there's other stuff to show as well too.
It's sort of hard to explain because it's more of a feeling, honestly. When you enter Taiwan, whether or not you are Taiwanese or if you're a foreigner, there's this overwhelming sense of being welcomed there. Like people were nice to you and really respectful, and you can see like the respect they have for like the space around them. One of my favorite things about Taiwan actually is like you hear like the garbage trucks going around and the compost trucks, and everyone will come out of their homes with their compost. Like the country as a whole has its values right in like the right place. Like Taiwan was one of the first countries that like switched all the traffic lights like LED lights, so it's like it performs better. You know, like just like these little things that like are just wonderful and great and like just very respectful.
Going back to the video, you had the opening sequence. Looking at that topography and going to the neon lights, was that intended?
That was absolutely intended.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to bring in just the concept of like new and old throughout, and I feel like you go into Taiwan, you just see a ton of neon, especially in like the older shops and like the older like food vendors and just like the fun night things that go on. You know, like we specifically asked them to do something neon-esque. But in terms of like the actual typeface, that was Eric. Yeah.
It was beautifully done. Looking forward, you said you're coming back into this Taiwanese American scene. You know, like what do you have in plan? Anything in thought? Like projects that you like.
Now that I realize that there's like this wonderful community out there that feels the same way as I do, I really want to become more involved. At least be a fly on the wall and like educate myself more. I think is the most important. I think like I just want to be able to continue learning more and like spreading the word. Just like any way to sort of help out the community is like really important to me.
All right. Well, looking forward to seeing more stuff. So, we'll definitely, I'm sure, seeing a lot more projects coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
Lively videos as well. Thank you.
Totally. Thanks for having me.